time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure, so let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by
PSE Archery, Yamaha Outboards, Better the Hunt, Easy Cut, Packer Max, Deer Camp Coffee, Buck Baits, JPO Game Calls, Limwalker Game Calls, Wild Seasoning, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock, and Scent Blocker.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaul. We're all kicked back, got our guests in studio, ready to rock and roll.
Nice, cool week.
Yeah.
It's been kind of nice. It's been, you know what? You asked me a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was even last week, about seeing deer, seeing fawn.
Yeah. Are you starting to see them?
I saw
behind the house?
I saw a buck today, looked like a 6-point.
Yeah.
And then doe and her 2 young ones came in last night.
Okay. I'm seeing them on my way to work in the morning. Problem is they're on the side of the freeway and they're not moving.
Yeah, well, don't do that. That's not a good sign.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so lately, all of a sudden, they started coming in and moving. So I don't know if it's the young ones have now grown up where they're moving more.
Yeah, probably.
And or it could be the cool weather.
Could be either or.
Right?
Won't be long. We'll be in the woods.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get on with tonight's show, man. Let's talk about the people who help us.
Yeah, let's talk about our supporters. And there's none other to start with Buck Baits. With this cool weather, there's nothing about going checking over Buck Baits and getting 20% off your order when you go use the promo code UNJ20 at buckbaits.com. Check out the scents. He's got some new features, new items on the website, so go over there, check it out, or go to the brick and mortar store over at 15 in Dodge Park in Sterling Heights.
Okay.
And if you're thinking about putting in your food fall plot, none other than...
Food fall plot. Your fall food plot.
Thank you. It all worked out the same.
Okay.
Either way, you got to Packer Max it.
Right.
So if you want $25 off your order, give Lincoln Roan a call over there. Promo code UNJ25 at packermax.com. Thinking about some game calls, coyote, deer calls. Talk about JPO game calls. I talked to him, texted him with him this week. He's out in California. He's going to tune into the show when he can. Get 10% off your order when you use the promo code UNJ10.
Make sure you check out that Omni system. That thing is killer.
Absolutely. Wild seasonings. What better way to season your game or your vegetables? I had some on some broccoli yesterday, and was it good? You get 10% off your order when you use the code UNJ2021, wildseasoning.com. None other than Deer Camp Coffee. You've got the cold brew going right now. You're drinking the cold brew. If you want 10% off your order, go over to deercampcoffee.com. Use the promo code UNJ10. Check out the blueberry. It is some good stuff.
Good stuff?
It is.
Well, I know this right here. This is... What did you give me? What beans did you give me?
That's the stout.
It's good stuff, man.
That's the stout.
I brewed up a batch of cold brew, and it is quite tasty. Actually, I didn't do like you did. I actually put some water in it because this is all concentrate.
Right.
And you give me pure concentrate. Said, here, try this. Thanks. I was more jacked up than a redneck on Mountain Dew that night, man.
That's good. It's good for you, man.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the show, man.
And we welcome Doug Orler to the show. So, hey, how's it going? And let's get him on. Who do we want on? None other
than Andy Cleveland himself.
Absolutely.
Mr. Cleveland, all the way from Appleton, Wisconsin. What is going on tonight?
Oh, all kinds of cool stuff. I'm happy and honored to be on your guys' show tonight. This is going to be fun, and I've been looking forward to it all day. So thank you guys so much.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for joining us tonight. We had a good little discussion leading into the show, so
Yep.
I think we're going to have some good stuff to talk about.
Absolutely, and I hope your stay in Detroit makes you come back next year, because we'd like to get together. That would be awesome if you guys make another stop here on the tour for next year. But I tell you what, this head-to-head fishing can be addicting.
That is exactly how I ended up here because, you rewind back to last year, COVID and everything, and head-to-head had to stay local, where we did a lot of local tournaments. We did bass tournaments and walleye tournaments, and I come from the bass side of things. And so the first bass tournament they had, I didn't get anything done all week. I was all in, couldn't get enough of it. And they called me and said, hey, you know, because I worked with Kyle in the past in the bass world, and Kyle Carpenter is the brand manager for Head to Head Fishing. And he's like, hey, do you want to come in and do some commentating for the next bass event? And I was like, I'm going to be watching it anyway. You know, I might as well come on in. So came in and did commentating, and it went really well. And they invited me to do the other 3 bass events last year. And, you know, me and Matt, we hit it off pretty quick right away. We had great chemistry, and it was a lot of fun. And as things grew, I got invited just with my past experience to, hey, do you want to be the tournament director for the Pro Walleye Series? And they laid out kind of the vision and what they saw. And I really saw a chance for me to jump in and add a lot of value because, you know, I was a bass tournament angler, and I also did organizing. And I realized a while ago, it's like, you know, my future is not really going to be at a tournament angler, right? You know, I love tournament fishing. I love bass fishing, but I realized I could have a lot more impact on the fishing industry by doing organizing and helping out. And when this chance jumped up, I dove at it. I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do it. And it's been a rocket since day one.
With that being said, you said you came on, but what did you do prior to your hosting life?
So pretty much prior to that, I was I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state of Wisconsin. I did that for 26 years, and a couple of years, I think about a year and a half before last year started, I did a career shift that allowed me to have a lot more time flexibility, and that's what allowed me to jump on and do it. But the first time I was ever like live on air was the first tournament I ever commentated. And, you know, sitting next to Matt Trotz it was awesome. I mean, the guy is so good, you know, and he kept the show going and he kept the flow going. And, you know, he still coaches me along. I mean, he has so much experience doing the live stuff that he really coached me out or coached me up. So yeah, that was last year. It's just a little over a year I've been starting to do the live aspect.
So look at that. You made a career change. Now you're co-host and tournament director of Head to Head. So anybody out there who's thinking about making a career change,
do it.
Go for it.
Right.
Yeah, hit it.
Just do it, man.
Right? It's kind of what, you know, hey, it's never too late. And I think you actually posted a meme about this. If you're looking, how did you say it? If you're looking back, you're not going forward.
You can't be looking back. If you're looking backwards, you can't see where you're going.
Right. So if
Right.
you want to change your career, keep looking forward and change it.
You got to let go of the past to grab a hold of the future. So
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
And it was crazy because at the time when I stepped away from surveying, my biggest motivator for that is I have 2 young kids. You know, they're 7. I have a son that's 7 and a daughter that's 9. And it got to the point where I just got sick of watching them grow up on Facebook. And it's like, you know, I just need something different. And that's what really motivated that change. And it all worked out because if I didn't do that, there's no way I could be sitting here talking to you guys.
Right, absolutely. I understand that. I mean, it's a big career change like that, given more free time to you. I mean, we're seeing that a lot across different industries, not just, you know, in the outdoors like the path you chose. But to back up just a little bit, for the people that are watching right now on the live stream and the people that are listening to the podcast, explain to them if they don't know, maybe they're not into fishing that much, or maybe they don't understand what the Head-to-Head Walleye Tour is all about. Just explain basically what it is.
Sure. So what we did was last year we opened up for applications for 32 anglers to send in to get picked to be one of 32. So actually we had about 100 applicants that sent in, walleye anglers. And out of those 100, we whittled it down to the best 32 that we saw. And every one of them went through an interview process with Kyle and with Brian. Brian is the owner of Head to Head and PWS, and this whole thing is his brainchild. But so the 32 anglers then got an invite to join the league, to join the PWS, the Pro Walleye Series. And what it is a group of 32 anglers that travel around the country that walleye fish. We have 5 regular events, and then there's 1 championship. And what we do is we fish the first 2 days. A head-to-head tournament is 5 days long. The first 2 days, all 32 anglers compete. At the end of the second day, the top 8 with the highest cumulative weights from days 1 and 2 make up our grade 8 bracket. So on the third day, we start the bracket head-to-head style. So it's one angler against another angler, and it's based on seeding. Whoever has the highest weight is the first seed, and then when you go down to the 8th place, it's that they had the 8th heaviest weight. So they face each other based off the seeding. So 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, and so on. And then each day, the people that win their bracket advance in the championship bracket. The people that lose go into the consolation bracket. So on the third day, we have the grade 8. The fourth day is what we call the Fantastic Four. And then the fifth day is a Friday. So we call that Championship Friday, where we crown our champion.
Yeah, I've got the brackets up right now. The way we're showing them here, you got the grade 8. It's not on the last day you're just watching 2 people fish. Kind of explain.
No.
You still see the other people fishing because they're fishing for their placement.
Right, yeah. So all 8 anglers that make up the grade 8 fish for the next 3 days. And so if you get dropped into the consolation bracket, you're fishing anywhere from 3rd place through 8th place. And so they still go through a bracket system to determine all the placements 1st through 8th place. So yeah, you get to watch the same 8 anglers battle for 3 more days, and then the other 24 anglers get sent home.
There you go. So that's it in a nutshell, people. That explains it.
Yeah.
We're watching a little bit of video from one of your live events right now, and somebody that might not know says, "Well, where's this at? I've never seen this on TV." It's live on the internet. It's across multiple different platforms or social media pages. Explain that avenue of. I mean, why did you choose that? Is it just because it's just a lot easier to get access to and to put that out there versus being on an actual outdoor channel?
Yeah, absolutely. It has a lot to do with the cost. We can be a guest on Facebook and on YouTube, and then also on the H2H Fishing website or h2h.com. And it allows us to really get out there, and the streaming thing is becoming more and more popular, right? And so we can stream on Facebook, we can stream on YouTube, and we can stream on the website itself. So it's a great way that, and also for people on the go, it's nice because it's free. You don't have to have, a Netflix or a Hulu or something like that to get the outdoor channel or an app. You just jump on Facebook, jump on YouTube, or jump on our h2hfishing.com website.
And actually with it being on that platform, like I got my phone right here. You just pop it up on your phone. You can watch it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you might be able to watch it at work.
You can do it. You can do it.
Not that I've ever done that.
And working from home helps that. Not that I would know that.
Not that you know that either.
Right?
Okay, so we got the basic concept down for people that might not know. Looking at the production of this show and the way things work, what's the feedback you're getting from people off Facebook? Because I see so many different things out there that it's just like, it's put together. There's something there to watch, but man, I tell you what, if nobody's watched this, I'm telling you, you've got to, because number one, it's intense, and secondly, it's live, but lastly, the production value you guys do is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is so crazy to think about when you rewind even to last year, what we were doing and the equipment that we were using to what we're doing now is just it's just mind-boggling. And the feedback that we're getting is fantastic. And I think the best compliment that we can get is we're being compared to like other produced shows on a national level, where we're not getting compared to, I don't want to say, lower budget or simpler, but we're getting compared to like an MLF, right? We're getting compared to like a Bass, where it's the production is unbelievable. And the staff that Brian put together, the guys in the studio, Zach and Aaron and Andy and Megan and Katie and Lance, and all these guys that are in the studio. I can't say enough about it because they do so much behind the scenes. And Mike, we were talking before, you're in this industry and you can appreciate and understand that, but man, it's easy when all you have to do is sit and talk and you look through the window and you see a half a dozen people just frantically going crisscrossing across the room to get stuff going. It makes you kind of appreciate them a lot more.
You know what? And another thing is to show how you guys are doing is when you have people in boats around the anglers that are out there.
Yeah.
And I think it was last week that I saw you even had a photographer that was on the shore taking pictures of the anglers. So you guys are out there. They know where you're at, so they're coming out and seeing you. So that's a great thing. But I tell you what, we're coming up on our first break. When we come back, we'll keep talking about head-to-head and the minor league system.
Yeah, I want to get into a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff. So when we come back, I want to run down that road. So we're going to step outside, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Still sitting here talking with Mr. Andy Cleveland, the host of Head to Head.
And people that are listening on the podcast, again, you got to see the Facebook Live or you got to go back and watch when we come out on YouTube to see what happens between the break.
Absolutely.
Because
that's some of the best conversation.
It is some of the best conversation, and you won't hear it unless you see it live or hear it live on YouTube.
Actually, I think the best conversation is usually before or after the show when we're not on live.
Right.
But we can't share that.
right. Exactly. So, but you know what? We talked about head-to-head fishing, the Pro Series. Actually, there's a Walleye League, which is kind of like the minor leagues. Kind of like if everybody relates back to golf, you got to go in the minor leagues to get up into the big leagues or the PGA, the main events. So you kind of got the same thing going with the Walleye League and the Pro Walleye Series. Kind of explain the Walleye League for everybody.
So the Walleye League is a cool grassroots effort where if you're a walleye angler and you want to be a tournament angler and you want to make it to fish in the Pro Walleye Series, this is how you do it. You belong to a club. There's some parameters for the club that they have to meet to be, meet minimum requirements. You affiliate your club with Head to Head, and then you fish a couple of tournaments throughout the year. You get invited to the regionals, and then you go fish these regionals. If you do well in the regionals, you move on to the nationals. And then if you do well in nationals, you get to fish in the next level championship. And basically what it is as you keep advancing, the top anglers that ultimately wind up are invited. I think it's the top 3 get invited to the Pro Walleye Series. And basically that's our feeder system because after next year, the same 32 anglers have the first right to come and fish. So after next year, the bottom so many in points get dropped off the Pro Walleye Series and get replaced by this feeder system, which is the leagues itself. And there's that flow chart that explains everything of how you go through it. And if you have any questions, if you're a club or if you're a person looking for a club, you can reach out and contact Kyle Carpenter. He's the brand manager. Easiest way is probably right on Facebook, just to message him. But you can contact Kyle Carpenter, and he basically is heading this whole Walleye Leagues up. He'll be able to answer all your questions and get everything taken care of. But it's a great grassroots effort. If you want to make it to the PWS, this is how.
So while you were talking about that, I had the graphic up of how it works through the Walleye League, regionals, nationals. And all you got to do, folks, go over to the website, h2hfishing.com. You'll see a drop down for leagues. Click on the Walleye League. It'll take you to this information. And like Andy said, give a shout out and find out more information. If you belong in an affiliated club, get them signed up, because we talked about careers before. You never know where it could go.
That's right. You never know.
Right, absolutely.
You might wind up being the host of a show. You never can tell. You know, you've been on air now, roughly about a year doing this. Yep. You know, I know working in the industry, anything and everything can go wrong at any given time.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing that's happened to you while you were on air that you can share with our viewers?
Well, it's not necessarily while I was on air, but so we're going to take everyone back to Millie Lacs, and I got a story to tell you guys.
Okay.
So I'm on site, right? And basically what I do as tournament director is I manage the 32 anglers, and then I also host a nightly show called The Breakdown after the anglers get back, and then we kind of break down the day, right?
Right.
On Championship Friday, what my job is okay, I need to do an award ceremony and hand out the check, right? Mm-hmm. So talking to the studio earlier in the day, I was talking with Zach. He's like, hey, man, I want you floating by who you think is going to be the winner about 20 minutes to 30 minutes prior to lines out, so we can be there just to pull up, have this big check, do the underwater interview, and away we go. It's like, hey, perfect, no problem. Call the camera boat comes get me. It's noon. Now, Millie Lacs, that's a big lake, right? It's like 17 miles by 15 miles, right? It's a big lake.
Right.
Joe Okada at noon had over a 20-pound lead. I tell the driver, I said, hey, we're going to head out by Joe Okada, because I think he's going to have this thing wrapped up. So I got a hold of Josh Blosser's official, and I got his GPS coordinates just in case, right?
Right.
So I got his coordinates. Well, we go over by Joe Okada. He is on the opposite side of the lake is Josh Blosser. So by the time I got over there, it was about 12:30, and now Joe has significantly cut into, Josh has significantly cut into Joe's lead. So we're sitting there, it's like, oh man, this is unreal, but I'm still thinking, okay, a half hour, he's still got, over a 10-pound lead, okay, and Joe all week has been able to catch fish on demand, right? That matchup with Robert Blosser, I thought Joe was going to die, but basically what happened is 10 minutes to go, maybe even a little less, Josh catches a fish, goes up by ounces. So we're in 4-footers. We have to go across the lake to try and get, to split the difference, because now I don't know who's going to win. So I want to try and be in the middle. Josh ends up winning. We're running across in 4-footers. We get there. They moved from the coordinates that they gave me from the last time. The whole time the studio was on the phone with me constantly. Hey, when are you going to be there? We're trying to stall. We're trying to keep this going. Matt and Daryl are just dancing. They're trying to fill content. I'm running, and I get there, and then finally they're not there. So then I have to re-get their coordinates. They end up another 5 miles away. So now we're running another 5 miles. And the whole time I'm in, contact with the studio. By the time we get there, they went off air already, because it's, they don't know when I'm actually going to get there with all the circumstances. But I got there 30 seconds after they went off the air. And so then we had to refire up the stream and everything and then jump on.
So it's funny you said that.
And do everything,
because now, as a person that was watching this live, in the 17 minutes that Josh overtook Joe was just an amazing feat in itself. But then because you give these guys specific directions at the end of the day, you need to do this, this, and this. Well, you change that. And so Josh is in the boat. There's because you told him to stay there, and he's like, well, why would he want me to stay here? Because we're supposed to go. No, just stay. And it was kind of good TV. I'm not gonna lie, because he was like, I won, right? Well, yeah, it's official, right? And then what was one of the coolest things was when his brother Robert stopped fishing and
took off
over to him to watch the ending. Was just, it was.
You can't script that kind of stuff.
You can't. And then when the tears started flowing, it's like, oh, here we go. It's like it's just like, it was awesome. When your older brother quits fishing, to come see you win the tournament, jump in your boat, give you a hug, and it's awesome TV. And it's one of the things about it, unscripted and live. So it was emotional, was true emotion, and like you said, you couldn't script it, so whatever happened was happening. It was awesome.
It was.
Right, and it was that whole event was so cool, that Joe Okada, Robert Blasser, Josh Blasser, and Brett King, they had just fantastic tournaments that they all made it into the grade 8. But that moment, it was cool when I finally got there and jumped in the boat. I mean, you could feel the emotion coming off of Josh. And one of the questions that I got to ask him that week was when they were growing up, when he was growing up, his dad was a professional bass angler. And Josh used to tell us, hey, I used to run home from school, jump onto TV so I could watch my dad weigh in. And that was just so cool to him. And I asked him, I said, well, what is it like now knowing that your dad gets to watch you? And it's just, if that isn't what Head to Head is all about, because we get to, it's so misunderstood what a tournament angler does, what these anglers go through. But now that we're able to take people along for this ride, the family, the friends, the fans, everybody gets to see it and has so much more of an appreciation for the struggle that these guys go through. Seeing Joe Okada on that Thursday with his matchup with Robert Blasser crawling back to his seat up front just from the heat exhaustion, right?
Yep.
I mean, just when you get to see that, it's a different experience than when you go to a weigh-in and he's like, man, I was struggling to get to my seat. It's like, no, you were watching a guy. I mean, that was one of the gutsiest performances I've ever seen in a boat by Joe. To get back up.
I was watching it that day, and I'm like, he's going down. I know there was some conversation in the boat that probably went on because he didn't look good at one point because he grabbed his to put over his head, and the heat was just zapping it out of everybody. But man, he was like you said, it goes to show you what these guys, for 5 hours that they're going at it, they barely stop.
Right.
Till the official ending time, and it's one of those things. It's just.
Well, there's no quit in him, man. He just kept putting it on. And I remember at one point, I think he had to serve a 2-minute penalty, and he used
that to do 2 of them.
Yeah, and he rehydrated himself. He's like, I got to use this to my advantage. And actually, it was probably a good thing that he did.
Right. He actually, the penalties he got were for foul language. So he had to serve 2 5-minute penalties. And it's funny because it's like the last person that I thought that would get foul language penalties would be Joe Okada. It's like I'm cringing every time I watch Max Wilson because he fishes with his heart. And I mean, Max is so much fun to be with, and he is such a great angler, but he fishes with his heart. And as I sit and watch him, I'm like, please, we're getting close, but he did a great job. But Joe, I was like, oh man, I can't believe it's Joe.
Right.
And, it was funny because Thursday night, he made it to the live show. I gave him an award. It was a bar of soap.
Nice.
Wait till we talk to him the next time.
Right.
Right. It was fun, but yeah, we got 3 days of pre-fish. That's basically sun up to sundown, and then that whole week was 100 degrees plus every day. By the basically the 4th day of the tournament is really the 7th day that they've been fishing in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It was, all of those guys had a lot taken out of them.
Well, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. They say, oh, I'd love to be, a TV celebrity hunter, or I'd like to be a pro fisherman. You don't know what you're asking for. You really don't, And not only that, the people we're forgetting about is the people behind the scenes. You got your officials, you got your cameramen, and I know what it's like to carry one of those heavy cameras with a live pack on the back. They're not light, and they're in the boat rocking back and forth, having to try to stay steady. You got to be a workhorse to be able to do that and keep that up too. So hats off to your guys that were on the crew out there that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
And plus, you're talking 100 degrees in Minnesota. So
right.
Minnesota's about to melt.
Right. So
it's not supposed to do that up there.
Right?
I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our second break. We come back.
When we come back, let's talk about last week's tournament and the history that was made.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. We're going to step outside, take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Danny's jumping the gun again.
I know, right?
He starts before I give him his cue.
I was excited because we got the live shot of Newberry.
Quick shout out to FM 123 up in Newberry. Carries our show for us up there, so we want to give them a shout out here on our show.
Yes, we're at 66 degrees. Again, you're listening on the podcast. You got to come to Facebook Live or YouTube to see the live video we're showing of Newberry. 66 degrees. Good night for pizza at Cedars and to buy some Deer Camp coffee.
Absolutely. And there's no snow on the ground up there yet.
No.
Next month? Just about, right?
It's September, so it'll be definitely a possibility.
It won't be long, you know.
Right?
And speaking of the great white up north there, in the snow and everything up in that area, we call them Yoopers. You know, Andy, I got to say, I detect just a little bit of a Yooper accent, just a little.
Yeah, you know, I've been accused of it a time or two. You know, it's I'm not really sure. You know, to me, I sound like everyone else around here, so I'm not sure if everyone else around here kind of sounds a little bit like a Yooper. I know when you get like me and Matt Trotz in a room going together, it can kind of start leaning that way pretty good. But
nothing wrong with that.
We're about, I'd say about 2 hours from the UP, so.
No, that's a lot closer than we are. So,
except when I'm at my cabin.
There you go.
I'm a half hour to Wisconsin. So, anyways, third segment of the show. Last week, the tournament was on the Mississippi, and history was made.
It was. It was so cool. You know, we have of the 32 anglers, we have one female angler, Mary Ann Husky, and she is just an unbelievable angler. She's made history one other time. She was Angler of the Year. She was the first female Angler of the Year in the Walleye Series a few years ago. But this time, she was the first female to win a major walleye event. And it was just so cool to see it done on the Mississippi River. And the other thing is, when we got to the bracket, right, the grade 8, I believe she was like 5th seed, right? She ended up going, her first matchup was against Mike Goffron. If you don't know Mike Goffron, he's in the Freshwater Hall of Fame. The guy, you know, his accolades speak for themselves in the walleye world, right? She went head to head with Mike Goffron and won. That is a huge thing right off the bat. The next day, she went against Paul Moline. Paul Moline, another phenomenal angler. You know, they went head to head. She won. The last day, Championship Friday, she went up against our Godzilla, which is Isaac Lakich, right? Isaac has made every single grade 8 this year. These are Isaac's stats this year. 2nd, 1st, 7th, 2nd. You know, I mean, this guy is just unbelievable. She goes head to head with Isaac, our Angler of the Year leader. She won. She went through some of the stiffest competition that we had to offer, and she came out on top. And it was so cool. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing angler, and we're so proud that it happened with the, you know, PWS with head to head. It's just so cool.
You know what got me with that tournament was she early on she figured out that her go-to spot where there was big fish holed up, she didn't go to before 10 o'clock. She's like, I hadn't caught anything there before 10 o'clock, so she was fishing other areas. And then when the time came and she knew she needed a fish and she needed a big one, she went back to her money spot and actually pulled one out of there, and she pulled out the win.
Right. She did. And you know, you look at what her strategy was. You know, a lot of guys were using the run and gun approach, right, where they were going from wing dam to wing dam, and there's certainly advantages to that, right? You can stumble upon something or hit a school at the right time or hit fish at the right time. But when you compare to what she did, she was all about time, about line in the water, right? She had more time with her bait in the water presenting than almost anybody else did. Joe Okada, he had another great event this time. He also stayed in one spot quite a bit. But it ended up, to me, it was interesting that the strategy that ended up winning was just staying in a spot where you're confident there's fish, as opposed to the running and gunning, right?
Well, there's that, because Joe started at a different spot, ended up at his other spot, and spent the rest of the time there. Marianne did the same thing. Lockage, on that last day, lost 2 fish, I do believe.
There at the end.
At the end, yeah.
And he was mad, but glad. You could see all the emotion, because he missed the 2 fish. He had 2 bites, and he needed one of those. That's all he needed, and he didn't get it.
Because they were tied at that point, right?
Yep.
And that, to me, it's really interesting, because you get to see that as that tournament goes on, it wears you down mentally and physically. And it's very uncharacteristic for Isaac to break down like that. And by break down, I by no means do I mean like the wheels came off and he fell apart, but that was the first time you really saw frustration with him all year, right? I mean, he is so good about rolling with the punches and taking things as it comes, but you could see the pressure and the frustration right there, and it was really the first time we saw that in him this year.
Well, you see it in all the anglers if you're watching, and if you're watching on to the people watching or listening, if you're watching this on the internet, and if you go to the live show itself, you can see the commentator with Andy and those guys commentating, but they also have other cameras that you can click to go to the individual boats. And what I do is I'm not going to lie, I'm a surfer, so I'll go to the different boats to see what's going on. And if you pick up some of the conversation there, you can definitely tell. Like, you'll see an angler, I know at one point, and I forget which tournament it was, Joe was like, just keep telling me what's going on. Tell me if anybody's catching any fish. Tell me where I'm at. You can see the pressure building while he's trying to get a bite.
Right.
And it's one of those things. It's just like, it's and this is just fishing now.
Right.
You were talking fishing with not live bait, so no worms or leeches allowed.
Correct. Yeah, we are all artificial only, which to me it's so cool. It opens up so many doors to work with great companies, right? Like we do a lot with Berkeley right now, where they come in and do things. But it is so cool, because you look at the walleye industry in general, and it's stagnant, right? There's not a lot of growth, right? How can you improve on a crawler harness, right? Or how can you improve on a leech, right? But going artificial only, I think the walls that we're breaking down is that people see, hey, I can catch walleyes on artificials, and then sometimes I might be able to catch them better on artificial baits than I could on live baits. But it creates so much innovation, and that's what we got to see. Look at Marianne back in her honey hole. She switched over to a jerkbait style, more higher in the water column, not necessarily top water, but she was fishing high in the water column, and she was getting these big walleyes to go. And that is the cool thing to see, this innovation. Look at what Josh Blasser won Millie Lacs on. It was a typically in the walleye world, that's a trailer, a 3-inch, a 3 1/4 inch paddle tail by Strike King.
Yep.
And it's just so cool to see the innovation already happening. Like when we left Detroit, people stop doing what everyone does in Detroit, which is throwing heavy bombs, vertical jigging, and people are actually starting to mimic what the PWS anglers were doing. Look at what Max Wilson did on Millie Lacs. He was using his live scope technology. He was doing his slip bobber and slimers, which artificial leeches, and he would find them and he would pitch to them slip bobbering out on Millie Lacs. He had a great tournament out there doing that. And so when you look at all of this innovation that's getting driven just because of the artificial, it's like, oh my God, it opens up so many doors.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things. It also tends to, and if you got to watch your recap show in the evening too, because you bring on the individual anglers and you kind of interview them again, how the day went, and then you find out that they're sneaking off to Cabela's, buying up everything they can find, and then and then all of a sudden seeing another angler that they're against coming down the aisle, and they're ducking and weaving, and the story I got to tell about Marianne giving up because she wasn't using the lure that the other person was looking for.
Right, Paul Moline.
There you go. That's the name. Thank you.
Yep.
And said, "Oh, I'm not using that. You can have some." Well,
Right.
okay. How many anglers that go head to head would actually do that?
Help out somebody else, yeah.
Right?
You know, the camaraderie is crazy because, you know, even go back to Lake Wisconsin, and in the morning, the anglers are sitting there before they take off from the docks, and it's not a takeoff, right? They have so much time to idle out to their spots because it's not a shotgun start. But they were sitting there in the morning lined up and they were rigging rods. And Mike McCormick was over talking to Isaac Lockich. And Isaac had this marker out, you know, coloring the tails of paddle tails, and it was faded really bad. And McCormick's like, hey, I got the dye if you want that. And it's how these guys help each other out is just unbelievable. The camaraderie with it is just unbelievable. And, you know, typically in tournament fishing, you'd think it's a little more cutthroat, right? You know, it's like, yeah, I'll let you use those baits because I soaked them in gas all night, you know,
right?
Something like that. But it's like with these 32, since Detroit all the way to now, they've really have come together and they are helping each other out because, you know, this is the first year of the PWS and they understand, hey, if we as a group make this as best as we can, it's only going to end up good for all of us.
You know, and that's one of the things. And like now, you know, you're on our show, and I see Joshua Bloss is checking in. So he's watching the live. You know, it's just that camaraderie that you guys are the 32 plus who's ever behind the scenes, plus cameraman, plus the officials. So if everybody, you got to go on Facebook, you got to like H2H, because when you go live, I know you go live at, you know, sometimes I know in Detroit you did it. You had they all paraded out with their boats to go launch and stuff. But you could see everybody you're together for the entire week, 32 plus people. So if you don't develop any good relationships, you know,
right.
I don't know what to tell you, because I heard that story about Marianne and about the Cabela's, and it was just one of those things. You just kind of go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things. It's and then to try the different methods, right? It's
right.
You know, what works, what doesn't work. Yeah, this might have worked today, but it might not work tomorrow. And it's one of those things. And then you're sitting there in studio watching all this, and it's just it's got to be, for you, it's got to be something amazing when it's coming down to the crunch time, and whether it's some go to what they call Dink Fest, right? And it's like, okay, somebody catch one.
Just catch one.
One.
Of something.
All we need. Right?
You know, it's crazy because, you know, during the head-to-head bracketed, you know, the last 3 days of the tournament, if neither angler has a weighable fish, which right now it's 2 pounds or heavier, we go into Dink Fest where we remove the minimum weight, and then any walleye and or sauger, right, will count. And at 11 o'clock, it's crazy because, again, it's like I'm out on site with, you know, I'm at the tournament location and I'm coordinating between the marshals to the anglers and then also back to the studio because Matt and Daryl do the live commentary each day. And it is a mad rush to make sure that we have everything square so we know who's in Dinkfest and who is not. Because that, as we saw, Isaac, he's like the king of the Dinkfest strategy. You know, he is done at Lake Wisconsin. He actually, the first 2 days, he dinked his way through, as we call it, right? He advanced into brackets. And then on Championship Friday, he beat Mike Gofron with, you know, a pretty good sized walleye. So it does get crazy, that communication between everybody when you get around at Dinkfest, 11 a.m. and you know, finding out who has something and who doesn't.
And then you hear the reactions like, nobody's caught anything? Really? You know,
right.
And it's like, and then besides that communication, because the angler's communicating with the official, did anybody catch anything, do this, it's also neat to see how the angler, the official, and the cameraman have to converse in this boat, because if he wants to shift from front to back, okay, we're all going to move here, folks.
Yeah, which way do you go?
Without anybody going in the water.
Right.
Right. It's a delicate dance in those boats, but you know, they're, you know, a walleye boat, you know, they're good sized boats, right? And Isaac, it's fun when you watch him. He's so nimble. He walks the rail of his boat. He's got that warrior tiller, and he jumps up. He'll walk the rail of his boat around everybody so nobody has to move.
Getting back to getting that information, how are you guys getting that information disseminated to you and then being able to relay it to people that are watching live? I mean, how quickly does that information get to you, and who's telling it to you?
Right. So we have everyone out in the boats. Each angler has what we call a marshal phone, right? Mm-hmm. And that marshal phone is dedicated to each angler. And we use a Walleye app. And what they do is when they catch a fish, weigh it, they enter it into Walleye app. And then that automatically updates all the technology, whether you're, the scoreboard, the ticker rolling at the bottom, as well as the official, you go to h2hfishing.com, the score tracker or the Walleye tracker that we have there. But the challenging part that we found out is technology is not always 100% reliable. Mm-hmm. And we've had a couple instances where you would have a marshal enter a weight into the Walleye, but because the cell service was bad, it's not updating it live. And that's where every now and then you'll see somebody all of a sudden, they jump up a bunch. It's because, they were in bad cell coverage. And then once they got in good cell coverage, the Walleye update, and there it goes. So what I do to communicate with everyone is I rely heavily on texting. So I text all the, in the grade 8, I have a chat set up with all of the officials, and I text all the officials in a group chat to say, okay, I need an update right now. And it's typically about 10:55 when I do it. And then they get back to me right away confirming that, yes, the Walleye is accurate. So, and then once I do that, then I'll send out a text at 11 or 11:01 confirming what matches are in Dinkfest and what matches are not.
Interesting. The way technology has changed. I mean, it changes every day, but I mean, the way it's changed, the way we even watch these tournaments or the information we're getting and how it's coming in, that's simply incredible. I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our last break. Let's get that out of the way, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the show. We're going to step outside, and we'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
All right, we're to the last segment. And tonight has flown by.
It has flown by. Jeff Baller says, sorry, Andy, you missed out on the ribs.
Yeah, man, he cooked up some mean ribs for a lot of those crews that were staying over on Pool 2 in Mississippi River. Jeff, he was a marshal at our last event. And, I first of all want to say thank you to every single person that has been a marshal for us, from Detroit to Lake Wisconsin to Millie Lacs to Pool 2. These people, we could not do what we do without the marshals. And a heartfelt thank you, and just we appreciate you guys so much for everything that you've done. Jeff, he was one of them, and he cooked up some meat ribs for those guys.
And Doug Orler, Oler.
He's one of our officials.
Well, he wants to know what you're drinking, so he's watching the live feed. He wants to know what you're drinking, Andy.
Oh, well, I just have a bucket of water sitting with me right now.
Okay,
that's good.
Right. So it's just one of those things that like you said, it's all the camaraderie that happens out there, and it's some things that you never know about, and then you find out maybe like on a Tuesday night you end up on Lake Wisconsin or something with some guys, and all of a sudden you're trying cherries out.
Oh, Josh. Oh, you're killing me, man.
So I heard about some cherries. So you kind of got to give us the version of a Lake Wisconsin, a Tuesday night in cherry.
Oh, okay. So the Robert Blosser, Josh Blosser, Brett King, we went over to the Blosser residence, and we were just having some camaraderie, and Dale Yankee was there. Dale, he was an official at Pool 2 helping us out, another fantastic guy. But he brought some cherries that were soaked in some adult beverage, And, so it was excellent stuff. And we were trying the cherries, and it was just a very poor mistimed bite on my part where, it's like sometimes when you drink pop, you can get a little that goes up your nose and, it gets the better of you. Well, it kind of happened to me with the cherries, but it was a much more violent reaction than that. And I can tell you this, that if you have that, do not grab a beer to try and calm things down, because a beer in that case is a multiplier. So yeah, not good. Just roll with the cherry and let it settle before you try and clear things out.
Oh my.
And it's just certain things like that happens, and you come to find out that, Andy and cherries in Lake Wisconsin on a Tuesday night. What can go wrong? Right?
Right. You'd never picture that.
That's like somebody just yelling at you, "What's your name?"
Oh no, Tony. That's all I'm going to go with that one. Is Brett King on here?
Well, like I said, you learn certain things that. Hey,
as soon as we're done, I'm calling that crew.
Leave it to the Yamaha crew, right?
Right. Team Yamaha, man. You just watch your back.
So anytime anybody out there, if you're out on the lake and you see Andy, just yell at him, "What's your name?" And then go from there. But I just had to bring that up because it was told to me, and I said, "All right, let's find out. Let's find out the real story behind these little tidbits of information."
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting angler meeting at the next event.
There you go. It just goes to show how much fun you guys do have together. Either on the water, off the water, but it's a tight knit group, and I think that's what speaks for the whole group and the way this whole thing comes off. And looking at this, we talked about the feedback of the show itself, but I mean, what are some of the things that you're hearing from people that are watching online? I mean, is it guys? Is there gals in there because they're cheering for Marianne? How is all this coming back across? Are we seeing youngsters watching it? What's the feel of the show?
It's kind of all of the above, and here's the cool thing that I can tell you is the feedback we're getting is, man, this is great. We've never seen anything like this. We have people that aren't necessarily fishing fans, and I'll name my mom under this group, right? She's not necessarily a fishing fan. However, she loves competition. Mm-hmm. My mom got hooked on the bracket style fishing where she's watching it now. So she doesn't, she loves watching golf, but she would never be caught dead watching a fishing show, but now she's watching it. And the other cool thing is, another story about my mom. So she was over at, we live real close to Lake Winnebago over here. And my dad and her were putting the boat in, and they heard some guys, and this was when we were up at Millie Lacs. They heard some guys talking about head to head. Well, my mom, waves at them, and she starts in on the conversation. And basically what they were talking about is how they could implement what they were watching the guys at Millie Lacs do on Lake Winnebago. They were talking about how they could throw paddle tails on Lake Winnebago. So you talk about, people that aren't necessarily fishing fans are watching because they love the competition, right? Mm-hmm. You got fishing fans that love the style. They love the streaming. They love the artificial only aspect. And then you have the industry change that's already happening with guys that are adapting what the PWS anglers are doing. And so the teaching has been out of this world. There is no better live on the water seminar than a head-to-head tournament, because you get to ride with, depending on the day, between 8 to 10 people, and it's streamed live for 5 hours, and you get to watch the progression of how you break down water, the changes that they make. So the overall feedback has been on so many different levels, just very positive and very energetic. It feels youthful again, right? The walleye industry feels youthful again.
Well, besides that, it's I think what is really different about what you guys are doing is when you get the first 2 days, yeah, everybody's in it, but then you're looking, I think it was at Millie Lacs, Robert Blaster lost in the last minute, I think, in the number 8 spot to make the cut. And then
that was pool 2.
Oh, okay. So it was pool 2 that he lost. A last-minute fish kicked him out of 8th place. So then it resets the field like you guys do into bracket style. So the first place finisher, who might be 40 pounds ahead, doesn't have that advantage anymore unless it is a cumulative weight for the week. But it gives you that chance to go head-to-head for the rest of the week. Every day, it's reset.
Absolutely.
So
every day weights go down to 0 and you start from 0 every single day. And like, go back to Millie Lacs with what Joe Okada did, how many hundreds of pounds of walleyes that he caught. If it would have been an accumulative weight for the whole week, he would have,
absolutely.
By Wednesday night, he
It'd
could have
been
been
over.
on the trailer and not going out anymore. But each day it sets back to 0.
And I think that is great because, you look at it coming out of Tuesday. Okay, you got your grade 8. Whoo, made it. Wednesday, a new ball game.
Back at it again.
Thursday, a new ball game. Friday, you're still in it, and you still got it. You're still trying to place, obviously, but it's a new ball game. It's not, you're not starting off with, hey, I'm going against the first place guy, and I'm down 33 pounds. It's like, nope, it's 0-0. Let's go at it. See you in 5 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you think of other sports. Can you imagine an NBA if during the championship, those series, you just kept the points you had every day and kept building on it?
Or at every quarter reset to 0 or whatever it might be. Wouldn't that be
right?
That'd be great. Right?
It's cool because it allows people, like Isaac, Lake Wisconsin, he was the 7th seed. He won.
Right.
And it's just so cool to see stuff like that.
Nope, exactly. And I think that's the power of the difference that you're showing. It's not the traditional style. Yeah, it's a fishing tournament. I'm way up. Tune in on when I get my trophy because nobody else is going to catch it. No, it's literally you're down to the last few minutes that a fish could be caught and you could maybe get into the grade 8. Maybe you could win your seed. It's awesome. It's wide open and it makes for, I hate to say it, love to say it, it makes for great TV.
It does.
It does.
While you're working.
Does.
Well, look at the way you guys do this and the way the explosion that's came about with this. Without giving anything or too much away, where do you see this going? I mean, is there more to this coming?
For the PWS, I think it is just going to keep getting more attention. It's going to attract more sponsorship. And, I just think it's going to really become the highest level of walleye fishing that there is and the most competitive. So with the PWS, that's what I see. With the Walleye Leagues, I see across the nation a lot of walleye clubs joining on and becoming a part of this and really having a grassroots movement towards the walleye fishing. For the head-to-head bracket style competition, it's kind of endless. There's always talks about different things that we can do, whether it's ice fishing, to hunting, to bowling, to golf. It's the world is, it's unlimited, right? But the biggest thing is right now in year 1, we're extremely focused on the walleye aspect of it. And, while we talk about all these other things, our focus is there. But yeah, there are, say about Brian Keller, who is, head to head came from his mind. And as the owner of all this, he is so forward thinking that if you have a conversation with him and you talk about what's going on right now, he's bored, right? You better be talking about what's going to happen in 10 years from now to keep him interested in how you can work or, improve or, what you can do. Because, he is just so forward thinking and such an innovator. And what I love about it is there's no boundaries. He has no boundaries whatsoever. If it's something that can go or that's interesting, it's going to happen.
Speaking of boundaries, if people go check out the H2H website and go to the Walleye League part, you're talking about affiliated clubs. You even got in there the potential for European affiliate clubs and Canadian affiliate clubs.
Yep.
So boundaries could be endless. And you could go from there. So that would, gosh, you're right. But like you said, you're focusing on the walleye right now because, right now you've got the top 32 basically in the world going at it. And it's up for grabs every tournament. It's not like, Even I think Angler of the Year is up for grabs right now.
It's it would be pretty tough to knock Isaac off of his perch where he's at, but I think mathematically it's still possible.
Okay.
As we roll in, our next tournament is over in Nebraska on McConaughey, and that's our 5th tournament this year, and that's the 5th regular season. So pretty much what these anglers have to be if they want to fish the championship, which the championship is in New York. It's like the northwestern part of the state of New York on a lake called Chautauqua. And on there is going to be our championship. It's the top 16 anglers in Angler of the Year points. Right now, that battle is so tight around that 16th place line that going into McConaughey, you are going to see people swinging for the fences. And the way that our point system is structured, you can move a lot of spots really quick. Like at Lake Wisconsin, here to give you an example, Marianne fished Detroit. I think she finished like within the bottom 4, I think, right? So just did not have a good event. Goes to Lake Wisconsin, makes it to the grade 8. She jumped up 17 positions in the points. She goes to Millie Lacs, makes another grade 8, jumps up again. She wins this last one. So she went from being like second to last to now she's 4th in Angler of the Year points in 3 tournaments. And that's with a lot of other point structures, that's almost impossible to do. But because the Pro Walleye Series head-to-head rewards match wins and big fish, you have the opportunity to rack up a lot of bonus points. So she racked up 15 bonus points by winning all of her matches, and she also had a big fish one of the day. So she got 20 additional points in addition to finishing first. So going into McConaughey, everybody is a player to make the top 16, and it is going to be crazy to watch these guys battle it out.
Well, right now, looking at the standings, as we're seeing them today, because we got them right here in front of me, 16th place at 99 points, and the next one at 17 is Josh Blosser, who's 6 points behind, 5 points behind, actually. And so, like you said, it's all up for grabs going into Nebraska to make it to the championship 16, right?
Yep, absolutely. So it's this McConaughey, this one is going to be good, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I actually went fishing with Daryl Christensen today, which is also a cool thing. Daryl, he's a walleye legend, and the guy is just such a resource in such just a plethora of knowledge, all things walleye fishing. But in talking with him today, that lake right now is down substantially, and a lot of the things that they fished out there are sticking out of the water. There's a lot of trees sticking out of the water right now, which typically have about 8 to 10 feet of water over top of them.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But everything that I've heard about McConaughey is good.
All right,
really
cool.
Good.
Well, everybody, August 22nd, is that when that one is?
Yes.
August 22nd. Everybody get on Facebook. Go like Head to Head. Get the updates. So when they go live, you can come check them out in August when they're in Nebraska, trying to get their way to to go to New York, which is in October.
Yep.
And I tell you what, normally we got a couple questions for you, but I'm only gonna throw 2 at you.
All right.
Because we're running a little bit long. So the first question is, you're traveling a lot. You're going to Detroit. You're going to Minnesota. You're going to Wisconsin. You're going to be going to Nebraska, New York. You're going to be traveling. What are you going to be listening to in your earbuds or in your truck or in your car or whatever you're going to be? What do you listen to typically, music-wise or news-wise, or what's that like?
So riding out there, I'll either ride, we got Kyle Carpenter or Travis Goss. Travis, he's one of those guys that does it all. He's an official, he's a marshal, he manages all the camera guys. And a lot of times it's a lot of talking, and it's a lot of talking about fishing. So it's kind of cool, like this last run that we had over by the Twin Cities, it's about 4 hours out there. And even when we went up to Millie Lacs, that's about a 6-hour ride for us. It's a lot of talking about fishing, but for me, when I'm just riding, I listen to a lot of like podcasts. I do a lot of audio books. But if it's music, it comes down to music. Love like the older country, the Hank Jr., Waylon Jennings, and Willie. I also like that 90s era of country. But I love me some Kid Rock. I love me, Van Halen and a lot of bands like that.
All right.
And also like the Elvis and my nickname. So I got this last year because it came out. I am a Lady Gaga fan as well. So they also call me or refer to me as Gaga.
Oh my. Okay, Gaga. While you're listening to Lady Gaga, obviously what's your go-to snack? What do you got to have while you're out there?
Oh man. What is my go-to snack? I would say like a fistful of peanuts or like almonds or something like that. But it's tough to stay away from the ice cream. Like when you hit the rest stop, right? Or you hit a gas station, it's those ice cream cookies some of them are pretty addicting, so I would say that Bridgeford beef jerky, one of our sponsors. Oh, you never go wrong with beef jerky, right? That's a go-to spot right there. So I would say any of the above with those.
Okay, and with ice cream cookies, that means you got to eat them or else they're going to melt.
That's right.
That's not something you could buy and forget, right?
Like the little frozen Snicker ones.
You commit to it, man. You get an ice cream cookie, you're committed.
So Jeff Baller says, say Flick's name.
Oh, Jeff, you dog. Flickiger. Okay. I did it. That's how you say it. Flickiger.
There you go. And Tammy Delk says he actually admitted that. He's a Lady Gaga
fan.
I do. The short story on that is me and Matt were commentating for a bass event last year, and something we heard music playing in the background as the guy was doing landscaping, and I don't remember exactly the band, but he's like, hey, that's In Sync in the background. And I look at him, I'm like, In Sync? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was a big, whatever the band was. It was like In Sync or, Backstreet Boy or whatever it was. And I went, wow, and I said, well, and I felt a bonding moment, right? Because he admitted something that just wasn't quite right with, watching bass fishing, right? And I felt like he was out on an island by himself and, we're bonding. And so I said, Matt, I got to admit something to you. And I said, I'm a Lady Gaga fan. And it kind of took a wrong turn because instead of like being on the island together, he started swimming off the island and kind of left me there.
There you go. So
you throw the guy a life preserver, he takes it from you and takes yours and swims away.
That's right. But no, it's all good.
That's right. Good. It is. And for everybody out there that's on the podcast or watching us live on Facebook, get over to the H2H's Facebook page, give them a like, and you can find them on YouTube as well. But yeah, you got to check this out because what they got going over there with this tournament style bracket head to head,
it's awesome.
It is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those things. It does get intense. It gets teary eyed. And Tammy says, "Let him be on that island."
Come on, Tammy.
Right? So, but anyways, yeah. So you know what? We're running long as it is. So, it has been great to have you on. Maybe after the finals in October, we get you back on to kind of recap the season to find out how it all went and come down and find out what we're looking at for maybe the new year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to. This has been so much fun hanging out with you guys and talking with you guys. And again, thank you so much for the invitation and just the opportunity to come on your show and just chat with you. You guys are a riot, and I had a ton of fun. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, you ought to go out and do a little ice fishing with us. We're trying to get some people to come up here and treat them to the northern ice. So,
hey,
we might have to go out and share a lake at some point.
More to come on that.
That's right. So
yeah.
Well, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. You know what? If need be, we'll make sure that the cherries are present while they're there.
It'll be no cameras. No cameras allowed.
No cameras.
Yeah, none.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And make sure you guys go over to, like Danny said, to Head to Head and check out all their social media. Give them a like, follow, share. Do the same for us. Give us a share. Share the show for us as well. And if you're following us on iTunes, give us a review over there. That helps us, and it helps the people who help us as well. Y'all take care. We'll be back again next week. We'll talk to you then.
This episode was brought to you by
PSE Archery, Yamaha Outboards, Better the Hunt, Easy Cut, Packer Max, Deer Camp Coffee, Buck Baits, JPO Game Calls, Limwalker Game Calls, Wild Seasoning, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock, and Scent Blocker.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.